You're listening to the Self-Made is a Myth, Make a Difference Together show with your host, Coach Tim Campsall, where we talk with successful business owners to hear the stories of their journeys in building their successful businesses. And more importantly, we recognize the folks who help them excel because we know that achieving business success is not something we can do on our own.
Hello, everyone. This is Coach Tim Campsall, and I'm excited to have a fellow business owner from Indiana with us today. Something unique about my guest is that he used to BMX bike race as a kid, and we're going to ask him about this. He built a track out of trash, which is quite intriguing to me. In his downtime, he enjoys going to the gym and any exercise that gets his heart rate pumping, and he is most proud of having a wife and kids that actually like him. I love that. It's my pleasure to welcome Scott to the show today. Hi, Scott.
Thanks so much, Tim. Appreciate it. That's awesome. Thanks for the intro.
So a track built out of trash. Tell us a little bit about what is that all about?
It was interesting. As a kid, we really didn't have much. And we lived in this Section 8 housing project, and across right next door was all this, these woods, and someone started building this track, and I was like totally excited. I moved in and we had a bike, and I was like, man, it'd be so cool. So I spent most of my time out there just working on it, building jumps and just practicing and getting better at BMX racing, because that's the only thing that was available, and got good at it. So started driving that, racing and doing that, and then got a sponsor. And
oh, that's awesome.
Did that until someone broke their arm and they bulldozed it down. I was like, well, so much for being a BMX racer, and started another path.
Nice. So you built the ramps and stuff out of just garbage that you found?
Yeah, you would take the grocery store wasn't far away, and they had these big skids they'd throw out in the trash.
Yeah.
So we'd throw skids down and put carpet on top of the skids and then cover it with dirt.
Nice.
Then you'd make jumps out of it, and then you would tighten the berms, and the berms they come around with skids. You put carpet over the top, and just those literally just someone's trash and carpet that you'd find in the dumpsters and create the bike track. And
I love it. That's awesome.
my claim to fame was having Matt Hoffman out there one day, who's like a legend in the sport. And like he was doing all these 360s and stuff. And we saw him do the first backflip on a half pipe, not too far away from there. It was pretty insane. Now they do them like all the time, but that was like epic for us before he was actually even real known. But now you're like, oh my gosh, Matt Hoffman. So it's cool.
Very cool. Well, hey, let's have you introduce yourself. Tell us your name, a little bit of your personal story, like where you were born and live, and about your family.
Yeah, so Scott Jared, I was born in Danville, Illinois, just outside of, Indiana, but pretty much on the border. And I moved to Indianapolis when I was like 7, I believe. And my dad was regional vice president of Steak and Shake. So he was here to open up all the Steak and Shakes in Indy. And that's how we got to Indianapolis. And then I worked really hard, ended up going to play football. I ended up going to Ball State for urban development and finance, and then got a master's in technology. And then realized that, man, those are great careers and all, but I thought I could make a bigger difference helping people live the life they want. And so we created Invst as a financial platform that allows people to reach their full potential and live the life that they want. And that's really what we do today.
Awesome. Tell us about your family.
Oh yeah, so the family, that's important. So my wife is from Kokomo, Indiana. She went to IU, and we have 3 kids. My son and my daughter are actually the same age. They're 17. For 1 year, they're Irish twins. Or for 1 month, sorry. For 1 month, they're Irish twins. And my youngest is 10. So a little spread out there. But we had a girl first, and I was like, oh my gosh, we gotta have a boy quick. And much quicker than we expected.
and what's your wife's name?
Laura.
Wonderful.
Yep.
And Scott, is there a funny story that your family likes to tell about you that you'd be willing to share today?
That's a great one. They usually make fun of me all the time for the best and the worst was my wife and I were engaged, And I had to go, I lived in Tampa at the time. So we lived in Tampa for 10 years. And I was having to drive to go pick up her parents that were flying into the airport. So now here's the future husband to be, this whole thing. And I had to go drive to pick them up. So Tampa is just north of Naples or the Fort Myers airport. So we're driving down towards Fort Myers. And for whatever reason, I saw a sign to Tampa and I just kind of turned back around and went back north all the way to Ocala. So literally, if you look at Tampa, it's like going another hour north when you
Oh
had to go
no.
a half hour south to get to pick them up. So here's this idiot kid, like this is my future son-in-law that went the wrong direction north, 3 hours out of the way, essentially all the way back to go get them. And they will never let me down on, like, I don't know what I was doing. I was on the phone. I was just in my flow state and it was going the flow the wrong way. So they laughed their butts off because I am horrible at directions.
I love it. That's awesome. So Scott, you told us a little bit about the business, but give us a little bit more detail. How did the business come about, and at what point did you have the confidence that you could run your own business?
Okay, that's a good question. When I was younger, like I had no choice but to be an entrepreneur. Like when I was 12, I had a paper route. I'd clean whatever you wanted from a carpet cleaning business, all these things. I was always doing stuff to make money because I didn't know how else to live. I mean, that's just the way we were brought up. And when I got to college, it was always about training you how to go get a job and be an employee of something else. And I was always dreaming of what I would want for myself. And when I actually finally made all the way to having a really cool job and making good money, I was like, man, my purpose isn't being met here. This isn't something that I really wanted for myself. And I just had that entrepreneurial spirit. I always was built that way. I was like, I'm pretty much unemployable. It was really what hit me. And I was like, how is it that we could do something like what we did in the technology space for individuals? And I was like, why? And I just literally remember me and my business partner saying we called it Jared Bunch Consulting. And it was like, the consulting to me was the important part, like the consulting of how do we help people live the life that they want. And I remember writing the mission statements like, we educate, guide, counsel people toward reaching their full financial potential. So
Mm.
whatever their potential is was what the design of the early on mission. And that was 21 years ago. And I just remember like that was it. And today, like our three uniques, we educate, guide, counsel so that people, and we make money work for people so that they can reach their potential. So that's how it started, is this idea. And I would help business owners say, look, if you had no money or you're building something, it's like, let me help you. I won't charge you any money. I'll find lost money that's leaking out of your life. I'll help you grow. I'll help you become better. And just Invst ended up coming out of that. So it wasn't Jared Bunch anymore. It wasn't consulting. It was Invst. It was making money work for people. And that's how it morphed into this thing. And what I found was it wasn't about the money at all. Money is just, it's just an ability to be able to do the things you want with who you want. But there was so much more to that, to like, how do you become free? How do you live not in fear, but have freedom?
Yeah.
And so Invst today is taking on this whole new, it's a symbol for something much bigger than what they can accomplish. So it went from this like I'm doing. It's like, what am I going to be? And then how do I help other people do this? And I was like, I always want to be better. And I'm like, now that's really what the company does. And we've got 2,500 households and people that, I mean, that's where we're headed.
Yeah, that's awesome. Our founder says that money, his definition of money is an idea backed by confidence. And
The
so,
definition of idea backed by confidence. Yeah.
so that, if you can think of something and you're confident about it, then his point is that the money will just naturally flow from, the confidence around a good idea.
Yes. I found that like if people pay you money for your idea, then you got a good idea. If they don't pay for it, it's not a good
Yes. Yes. And you mentioned mindset, and you and I talked about it in the past, but that confidence piece is huge, right? Of, if we don't have confidence in what we're doing, then we're not going to attract, people to us, because everybody can smell that, that fear or that trepidation. And so that confidence is so important. Yeah.
The best skill you can teach your children is to protect their confidence.
Mhm.
And that's the number one thing. That's the number one gift, is like, if you are so confident in what you're doing, and confidence, you can break it down to different things, is what I've learned over the years, was that my confidence became better because I was aware. Like, I became so self-aware that whatever I was in wasn't a good environment for me. And then I had to adapt to the environment that I wanted, and
Yes.
then accelerate through that door to build something else. So the confidence for me was always like, okay, this sucks. Like, I don't like where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
How do I get out of my situation to come through? So so freedom for me was on the other side of that comfort zone. It was sitting over here, and it was
Yes.
all about always just diving into that. And then once I overcome that obstacle or whatever, I became more confident. And
Yes.
they kind of build off each other, and you get better and better. And I'm like, that's the secret. It's not the journey's the destination is awesome to being financially free, but it's everything you learn on the lessons along the way that gets you to that. But
Yeah.
that's the confidence saying, I can do this,
Yes.
to become
Yes.
something.
Yes. Because we're all generally speaking, the majority of us are hard coded to like our comfort zone and protect our comfort zone. And I call it the caveman theory, right? Evolutionarily, you step out of the cave, you got eaten. So then we learn to stay in our cave or stay in our comfort zone. But to
Yeah.
your point, everything that we want in life and everything we want in our business is on the other side of the comfort zone. So it's a matter of, resisting that fear and to your point, right? Breaking through and having that consistent and persistent approach of, I'm not going to let this thing that's scaring me stop me, because I know on the other side of it, there's going to be, I'll use your word, another level of freedom.
Yes. And that's the thing, is that confidence is being comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes,
Like,
indeed.
oh, repeatedly. So you can I was blessed with a very, very, very rough childhood with poverty and all this stuff. And what that did for me was that, hey, I can take a lot. Like, I
Mm,
can carry a lot of weight. So I can be completely comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And I'll put myself out there to try stuff that, like speaking in front of a large group or other things, like trying messaging, and like,
yeah.
this could go good or it could go really bad. I'm gonna try it and see how it goes. And that's just been my thing. But then that being uncomfortable was very much so, but how do I be comfortable in that? And then that the next evolution of you is on the other side of that comfort.
Yes, love it. Hey, share a story, Scott, where someone pushed you or inspired you that you could do it. And even though maybe you didn't think that you could, and the impact that that person had on you.
Oh man. It seems like it happens on a daily basis now. Like I'm always getting pushing to the next level. Like, I would say I'm always getting kicked in the gut, but I'm like, it's evolving to the next thing, because I'm always pushing towards what I believe the ideal outcome would be. The most recent one was, I hired a speaker coach. His name's Pastor James Dixon, and he's a pastor. And it's like, how do you articulate what you're doing, and how this stuff is? But a lot of my uncomfort zone was talking about my past, or talking about certain things that I had done. And what he was trying to pull out of me is like, actually, that's the story. You got to go back to that, which I was never wanting to go to the past. I was always wanting to live in the future.
Yeah.
I would never dwell in that. And I've heard this over and over again. So like Gino Wickman, who built EOS, said the same thing. It's like, oh man, I can see you and me 10 years ago. And he's like, there's things that I can help you become that you don't understand yet. And it
Mm,
was like, you have to go to this other place to be able to become something else. So that personal journey of like stuff that like Gino's been working on with me, and then Pastor Dixon has been that the next stage for me. So it's been very uncomfortable, to say the least, but it's like, you have to go back to your past. You got to figure out what's pushing down. So for you to actually become something better and greater, you have to go through this do thing. Like, you have to go into these back stories to be able to create,
yeah.
because that's how you become a better leader. That's how you become a better father. It's how you become better at just being present and all this stuff. So out of those frameworks, like 10 disciplines is now a course that we offer through Gino Wickman. And it's so we have a course that we offer here with Josh Hauser. He puts that on, but it's a 10 disciplines that you do to get there. So
Mm,
going through that course, and then meeting with him and his personal team one-on-one was like very uncomfortable. And then going to this Dixon guy where he's like, hey man, he's just doubling down on that. It's like, guys, you're killing me right now. And then I got to get him in front of 1,000 people and tell a story. This isn't cool, man, not at all. So talk about being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Like I'm not comfortable in this whatsoever.
But you're still doing it, which is awesome because you know what's going to be on the other side. So
I
proud of
think
you. That's really cool.
yeah, just like being on this podcast is like there's a story to be told. And if you really want 1 million people to find financial freedom or to live the life that they want, well, it's great if you know it, but if no one else knows it, then you're not going to get the mission accomplished. So you got to step way outside that comfort zone and start telling that story because you know you have a secret sauce that's there that can help.
Yeah. And telling your past actually helps people to relate to you and believe you, right? Because you're not just preaching a fake story. You're telling about your journey and where you've come from, and right, people can relate to that much better. They start to understand you as a person and as a human, right? Which is amazing to be able to have that type of connection with somebody.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's the story, which I didn't understand is like, you gotta, because there's a journey, each of us have our own story of how we got to where we are. But if you don't get other people to relate, to say that you too can become, you too can do, then it's not going to motivate them to take the massive action that they have to do to get to that level. And that's what we do every day with our clients one-on-one, but doing it one to many or telling it in masses is a whole different conversation. I could
Sure.
sit with you one-on-one and have a great conversation, but it's like,
Yeah.
oh, there's all these other people now that really need to hear that message. And it changes the dynamic quite a bit, but it's really, you're just having a conversation with them.
Yep. Yep.
With them
Scott,
up.
what's your biggest learning as a business owner?
Wow. So like we have 83 employees now, so we're growing. And what you find is that you have a really good vision for the company, and that vision can get really distorted very quickly because what happens is if you tell one person one thing and they tell another person another thing and they tell another person another thing, there's could be 3 different stories that are mistold. And then after you manifest that through 83 people, the points of connection and the misinformation that gets passed through becomes even harder
Yeah.
to do. So it'd be easy if there was no people involved with the company. It's a court. That's not the case. Because people have a lot of things they need and all this stuff. So the journey for a visionary or for a leader inside of a company is like, really, what is our North Star? What's our vision that we've casting down? And then how do we get everyone to see that, to be able to say that you are a key critical part in it and whatever your unique ability is.
Yeah.
And to me, as being a doer, like just grinding to actually having to lead is a total different game, and be able to get that vision out there and say, look, I can show you through example of how to be abundant, but when you go scarcity and you don't know what that is, it's like, how do we get that to connect to where you see that, oh, that I see how I am a big important part of this and keeping people in. So to not let people go into isolation, bring them back into your community and letting that grow. So as a, not only trying to help the individual people, but if the employees and the people in the Invst community that are actually serving these people aren't healthy themselves, then how well are you going to be able to serve the people that you have to serve?
Yeah.
So it's a healthy balancing act to be able to balance the two, because everyone's got what they want and I want them to have what they want. So it's like, to offer that much value and keep everyone together is a skill that only the greatest have figured out. Like when I look at the best, you're looking like the Steve Jobs and some of these big visionaries that were able to do things that were like unbelievable.
Indeed. Let's go on the flip side. We know that business success doesn't happen in isolation. So what's one of the biggest challenges that you've had in building your business, and maybe a fellow colleague or business owner who came alongside you and helped you through that?
To me, the challenge is having people not go in isolation.
Mm.
I feel like when people inside the company go into isolation, it creates a lot of problems for whatever reason, they're not engaged. There's something else going on in their personal lives that's taking them out. And how do we bring them in? And the people that I've built around me in this company have been people that are severely loyal. Like they actually they have batteries, they have a gear, they have a drive. And that's why I said, like, I want you to come in with batteries ready to go, meaning like I don't need to plug the batteries in. Like you've already got you can go 100 miles an hour. But the people that I find aren't the ones that may have the most talented background or the education that you would think that you would need. It's the ones that are just they got the drive. They can learn, they can unlearn, and they can relearn like over and over again and just get better every day. The the people around me, like my leadership team, the advisors that are within our company, collectively, if we all can do that together, then that's how we keep up in the 21st century. It's how we keep up for the next generation. And that's the thing, is like, can we get 83 people running in that same direction that way, but not go in isolation where people are going this way, but can we have that same vision and purpose and everything together collectively go? But everyone together has been, I mean, there's no way you can do it alone, but
Yeah.
it's every single person. Like it's like
Right.
the whole group in that way.
Yeah, because if you, to your point, if one of the spokes in the wheel is not working right or tripping up the others, then the whole infrastructure slows down, right?
Sports analogy, you're only as good as the weakest person on your bench.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality. And so we got to either pull them up, or they're gonna have to self-select out to something that's more fitting for them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've had lots of great people in my life that have been in this company that have went on to other things that were better fit for them than here. And it's exciting and hard at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm excited for their new journey. And it's also hard to see good people that are part of my family
Yeah.
go and do that. Like I want them here. What's cool is we still can be their financial advisor and be able to watch them grow.
Yeah.
But I will never hold you back. Like I don't put non-competes. I don't do any of that stuff. Like I feel like if we're building value, we're building value.
Yeah. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, Scott, and ask you to pick 3 people in your journey that have been most helpful in your business's growth, the 3 folks you're most grateful for being there for you. So who are the 3 people and how'd they help you?
Well, there's a lot of coaches and stuff that are there, like that have helped me a lot, but they're there from like an idea standpoint. So like coaches like Dan Sullivan and Gino Wickman and people like that have been instrumental in my development, and mentors like other successful people like in our field, like Mark Murphy and Anthony Domino and Garrett Gunderson. Like other people in our industry have been very much there from that. But the people that are by my side every single day, like you can't do it without a strong spouse. So like if my wife isn't supportive, like forget it. Like there's no way. And that's been challenging too, because there's a lot of effort you got to put in to where you're gone. You may not be present. So there's a huge rub between, are you there for your family? Or are you there for the business? And to have a supportive spouse, I don't think any of us make it without a supportive spouse. That has to be the first one. And then from there, like inside my, like in my leadership team, like Lloyd Easters has been a very instrumental part, like for me, like to make my transition from one level to the next. Like he was there saying, look, you got to drop the cup to pick up the pitcher of opportunity. Like you've got to make that decision, like, but only you can make that decision. So the person behind you saying that you can do that. And then Josh Hauser has been very instrumental in my company as well, who's runs our sales and development. And he's kind of like the spiritual leader of us. Like, you know, like he's always at this like calm, peaceful state. Not, I mean, in his own way, it comes with some baggage, but it's been good. Like, but those are like the 3 people that have been the most inspirational, like to be able to be there with me to like, not only like tell me what I'm doing, like I'm an idiot, you're doing it wrong. And like, you got to really think about this way, but there's always someone behind the man. Like there's a spouse, there's other people behind that to be able to be what you can become. And we're just pulling each other along. So like when I'm down, they pull me up. When they're down, I pull them up. And then And then we have a whole bunch of other people we got to pull forward too. So to me, those are like that are actually in it every single day. Those three are like always in it. And there's so many more people besides those three, but those are the main ones that really stand out, that have been like through some really hard times together, that we just kind of eat the mud and go through it.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason that I say put you on the spot is because yes, there's always more than three people. So it's a tough thing to be able to
Yeah.
narrow it down to just three. So I appreciate you sharing that. Let's look about into the future a little bit. So over the next 1 to 3 years, Scott, what's either the number one priority or the challenge that you see that you'll need to overcome in order to achieve your goals?
The next 1 to 3 years would have to be the connectivity the of the nucleus of what Invest is. So for our success, we're only as good as the people that are here to serve the end consumer. Like, so no matter how good the vision is and no matter how good the product sets are, someone's got to execute
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And if those people aren't aligned with the vision and don't want to be part of that anymore, the company has no value.
Mhm.
I mean, that's it. And then you can't service the people that you are promising high value to. But I think that's it. And then the second thing is that everything that's moving forward is happening faster than ever. So what you're seeing with like quantum computing and AI is the way that we do business today will not be the same in the next 5 years. It's changing faster than you can ever imagine. So now you're trying to keep 83 people aligned to grow, and those jobs will be displaced. They'll be different. They're not going to be the same. So then we got to evolve to this next level, and we got to say, look, your job as you know it today will not be here in the next 5 years. We're going to have to help you learn how to get out of your own job.
Mm.
But there is a value in the company, so we have to replace you into this new role. So we got to help you elevate up.
Yes.
And we got to help you grow out, because if you're stuck where you are, so one of our core values is always growing. So whatever you like, let's say you're on our trade desk right now, we're going to optimize that at some point. So how do you now can do that at a high level in a different way, maybe the same task, but there may be AI and other things that are going to accomplish that.
Yeah.
So as we go from the people to how we service and use this new technology, what we're doing, that's how we stay competitive into the future.
Yeah.
And then the third is, how do you tell your story? Like, if you don't have a compelling offer or you don't add value in the world, then you're going to be displaced. So the value creation that was generated like the Industrial Revolution isn't the same that's now, because
Right.
like we don't even need a lot of those things that were before. So whatever this thing looks like in the future is where you got. So you got to always be focusing on keeping your people together. How do you keep up with the speed of technology? And then how do you continue to add value to the world?
And to your point, with everything moving as fast as it is, we don't even know what it's going to look like in 5 years from now. So that balancing between keeping everything moving today and trying to figure out where we have to be in 5 years from now is an interesting balance for all company leaders.
Yeah. So what I've learned with Strategic Coach is it's a series of guesses and bets.
Yes.
So vision, like you have a vision. So your vision's about forecasting what you want to see out in time. And then my best guess is this is what people are going to want. So my bet is I'm going to put the money into that bet and see if that adds value to the people or not.
Yeah.
And so like I'll try different guesses and bets to say, all right, my best guess is this. I'm going to put my bet where my money in my mouth is to see if this works or not.
Yeah.
Which creates a lot of problems within the company, because they're like, oh, this guy's out of his mind. Steve Jobs, right? I want it to fit into this box. I'm going to take an iPad, a phone, all that. And I want to bet on this. And we're going to get rid of all of our products. We're going to only do like 3 products well.
Right.
So his guess was, this is what the world's going to want. I'm going to bet on the whole company that this is what we're going to go towards. So his best guess, hopefully.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Think about it in your business. What is your best guess and what's your bet? But that's the game we're playing.
And you said the company's not going to like you. Well, in Steve's case, right, he got fired, and then they realized that was a bad idea, and they brought him back. And
yeah, and I've seen that a lot. I've seen like one of our clients is the founder of Outback. I've seen them build Outback up, get fired or leave. And then the new group runs into the ground, they come back and they rebrand it to something else. It was Outback, then it was Bloomin' Brands, and now whatever the next version of that's going to be. So you have to be told. But you see that from these really powerful entrepreneurs, not necessarily powerful, but they had a clear vision what they wanted, and they were able to articulate it well enough to go. But within that came a lot of uncomfort.
Yeah.
But the success was on the other side of the uncomfortableness.
Yes, yes, and I talked about this offline. It also requires, the team to be able to execute against that vision, right, and be able to nail it and hit it out of the park, because oftentimes the visionary is not the same person that's going to be the dot the I's and cross the T's and execute with excellence, right?
There's a lot of thankless roles that have to go along the way. Like someone's got to do the whatever the responsibilities are of the company along that path.
Yeah.
But you're only as good as that the person that's doing like to me, the person who answers the phone is the most important role, because the first greeting of what you get is that person. And that's usually the lowest paid employee in the company. But that's your first entrance way into like, hi, just to how you say, how do I add value to you today? Or what's the conversation when someone calls because they're probably stressed or mad or happy, or, you don't know what they're walking into or what you're getting, but how you just accept them into your culture is so super important. And if it's not done right, and if you're disgruntled, you're upset or something else, then that could create a huge, so it's everyone rowing in that direction. All the values align, moving towards this bigger vision.
Last question, Scott. Jim Rohn, amazing business guru. One of his famous quotes is, "We become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with." So as you think about that quote, what advice would you have for business owners who are trying to do it on their own?
Do it on their own? That's a good question. I think the first person you need a good relationship with is yourself. And it's you versus you being the better you from yesterday. That's the game you're always playing, is one upping yourself. The thing is that you can only grow. So if you have a goal, your goal's limiting in a way, because your experiences, can set the goal. Like I don't know how to create $100 billion business. I've never done it. I can tell you what a $3 billion business looks like, but I can't tell you what a $100 billion business looks like.
Right.
So my experiences are limiting. So for you to understand what the next level is, the people you hang out with are the ones that may be able to ingrain some of those other things in you to take you to that next level. So nothing against the people that you hang out with, but the thing is that there's a whole nother level of that, but our experiences are only limited to what we've been exposed to. And so when I get in those rooms where I'm not the smartest person in the room, or I'm by far the dumbest person in the room, and I'm like, wow, how is it that this happens? So like we just invested in this company with Elon Musk. So I'm like, to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, because he thinks it's such a different level of what that is. So yeah, I would assume that the absorption of just like little lost crumbs coming off that guy may help me see the world in a different light.
Sure.
But that's the kind of things that, like, when I go to those rooms, like Abundance 360, that where he's a part of, and then like I've been in rooms with Mark Cuban and other people, to me, that's playing at a bigger level because they've already surpassed these other things.
Sure.
And so that's it. So to me, it's like, we'll just be there. And gratitude is all about asking the right questions. It's about digging in. It's about working hard. And what you find is those 5 people will probably give you their time. Like if you ask them a question, they're like, sure, because they've already paid the path. Like, right. So you'll be, so you sit there and you think, oh my gosh, they're untouchable. And my wife used to say, Scott, you know that they actually get up like you every day. They put their pants on one leg at a time. And I was like, oh yeah, thank you. Because like, why are you so awestruck over meeting so-and-so?
Yeah. Right.
So like gratitude is really go ask them really good questions. Like if you ever go, like to me, meet Warren Buffett, like what would that be like? What would the questions you would ask? So think about that. So those 5 people is like, well, if you want to strive for that, well then be grateful for what you have. And then when you get there, what are you going to invite and envision what that would be? And then you keep stepping up your experiences, which helps you get better goals to those the other higher possibilities.
I love it. And I've never had anybody who didn't want to pay it forward. So most successful business owners, right, they know where they started and they're like, yeah, you asked me a question that makes sense. I'm going to give you an answer because I want to help you out.
Yeah. Yeah. Like for instance, we're in this this business group of IU alumni. I'm not even a IU alumni, but Mark Cuban jumps on Zoom. He's sitting there, he's got his kid in the background. He's talking about like where he sees the economy going. Why? Because he's just getting back to like
Yeah.
he's just, I mean, wow, you have Mark Cuban on, it's pretty awesome. Or the Abundance 360 conference, like Elon Musk is literally on a plane zooming in to talk about what he sees because he's friends with Peter Diamandis. And like, so I'm like, oh my gosh, but yeah, he's like, sure, I'll jump on. Well, I mean, I'll be 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Exactly right. I'm like, dude, that works that way. Like, so that changes now my experience, like, oh yeah, he's right. They literally get up the same way. They put their pants on the same way. They're just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, Scott, it sounds like you've been blessed with some incredible people that have been part of your journey. If they were all on the show here today, what would you want to say to them?
Oh man, I would say thank you. Forever grateful. They invested in me so that way I can invest in others. And I'm paying it forward for you. Thank you.
I love it. Awesome. Scott, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Self-Made is a Myth show. Please help spread this movement by liking and subscribing to our show and following us on Facebook and LinkedIn. To join our movement, go to bemadtogether.com. Okay, folks, that's a wrap. Please pay it forward and be sure to tune in next time to the Self-Made is a Myth podcast.